Welcome back. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to some Legends Reborn goodness. Not gonna lie, I am starting to feel the excitement grow for this game. Like I told you in the first video that I did where I was talking about doing some new content on a new card collecting game that's coming out through the Gala ecosystem, Legends of Reborn Age of Chance. I'm really excited. It's been a long time coming. I haven't had a CCG in my life in a while since Hearthstone, like I was talking about last time. And there is not really a whole lot of content out there on this game right now for us to kind of ponder on and think about. So I want to try to jump in there and fill that void just a little bit. I'm going to talk about some of the things that were released on the last Ahead of the Game episode number 41 just a couple days ago. One of the developers of the game, his name is Gofu. He was one of the original developers on the project, and then some things happened with the company that was running it. I'm not really 100% sure of everything that happened, but I think there was some legal battles in there and some challenges that Gala had to work through. But now he's back, and he's either working with a different company that's acquired the IP or something. I don't know. I'm not really 100% sure on that whole situation there, so don't, take that as gospel. But he was on the last episode 41 of Ahead of the Game, and he was talking about what he called 3-game loops that were basically sets of features that the players can get involved in and be able to earn, obviously be able to, rank up, show their rank among the other characters in the game, the ability to craft cards and mint and rent, and anyway, those were the big topics. So if that sounds interesting to you, then by all means please stick around. Let's do this together. Let's break this down and let's talk about it a little bit. I'll try not to make this video too long, but there is some information that I want to go back and see that he himself talked about, because obviously he's the developer of the game, one of them, so who better to hear the mechanics from than him. So let's go ahead and jump right into the first game loop, as he calls it, and it was about leaderboards. Leaderboards are very important because, it's just something that players need so that they can gauge their self against other players. Players need to be able to know where they stand. Like I said, they want to know, how good am I compared to other people that are playing the game? Where do I fall? They want to see how their investment is performing, because in a game like this, some of us, the majority of us probably, will be buying NFTs to actually use in the game. We'll be buying characters. We'll be buying action cards. We'll be buying things that they call venues, which are basically taverns. Like, the image you see here, right here, represents a venue that other players can play in, and you can host games in and do all kinds of things like that. They want to see how their investment is performing. They also want to be able to get rewards. It's plain and simple. People play games for rewards. They play games for those dopamine rushes that they get when they hit the jackpot, and they get a reward, they get a treasure, they made it to the top 10 in the leaderboard, whatever it is, or they beat that player. That's why leaderboards are important. I really hate it when games don't do leaderboards, because then I don't know how I stand, when I'm playing. If it's a battler like this, then you got to know how good you are compared to Joe Smith down the street. You want to know, does his deck perform better than yours, and why? Is it him? Is it his deck? Is it his cards? Is it skill? What is it? And the leaderboards help you determine those things. So I really hate it when games don't do that. So I'm really happy that this game is going to do that. I don't know if the leaderboards that he's showing in his description here are all time or if they are just for the event. It appears that they're going to be just for the event, at least what he's showing us now. Hopefully they will have a secondary kind of leaderboard that shows an all-time type thing. That would be great as well, because I would like to know how I'm doing in the event, and I would also like to know how I'm doing all time as compared to other players. So hoping for that feature to get added in. But anyway, let's go ahead and watch him talk about this, and then we'll kind of discuss that a little more.
Okay. This is a live build that you're seeing, everybody. Take it away.
So this is the dev build. Not all these features are going to come out next week. And I think I saw some questions on what are the 6 features. Instead of talking about the 6 features individually, what we'll do is we'll go into the 3 loops we've created, like complete game loops that we've created, which was the focus of the mandate that we got. Like, hey, can you create the economy for this core card game that you've created, right? So the first one I talk about is essentially AP leaderboards. AP leaderboards is kind of like what you see in the other Gala games, where you get a bunch of points, and at the end of that leaderboard season, you get rewards based on the placement. So how that would work is, you go into PvP. I'm on dev right now, so nobody's playing, so I can't matchmake. But essentially, you go in here, you play with a deck that you've created, and then you come into events. And what you see here is that the points that you score based on which venue you played on, which NFTs you use, what's the rarity of the creatures that you used. If you hosted a match in a specific venue, then you get points. I wouldn't pay attention to these actual numbers. This is just QA numbers so that our team can test it. But essentially,
wait a minute. You're not saying that those numbers are each absolute, complete, total promises of exactly how everything works in the game in a dev? Oh my gosh!
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, it's unbelievable, but yeah, it's true. It's not. This is not.
What?
This is not. This is not production ready in terms of tuning.
Oh my gosh!
That's hilarious that they made that distinction, but that's something that we really need to wrap our heads around too when we're looking at this, because we can sit here and theorize all day long about how we think this is going to work, but ultimately at the end of the day, the game doesn't release until the 11th, which is one more day we have to wait. A lot of this could change by then. I highly suspect that these numbers that we're seeing, like this 110,000 for hosting on a venue at a dive tavern, 20,000 for the next scale up, I think these are all going to change. I would project, if I was going to guess, that they will go down a lot, because these numbers are a little exorbitant, and like he explains here in a minute, they're basically set this high so that they can see the change on a QA perspective. So yeah, just remember that a lot of this stuff is probably going to change, if not all of it, parts of it, whatever. But I do want to say one thing though. When it comes to the earning of points in the leaderboard system and the event system, I do like the fact that they have many different ways. Like right now they're talking about earning points on an MMR, which is basically just a matchmaking ranking. Sorry, that was a mouthful. Basically just tells yourself your win-loss percentage, how you're doing, versus other players. You win some, you gain some MMR. You lose some, you matches, you lose some MMR. And that basically just kind of gives you an idea how you're performing. Then they have winning at a venue. Then they have hosting on a venue. Then they have winning with an NFT creature based on its rarity. So there's many different ways to earn points, and I really, really like that. I like variety in my mechanics that allow me to earn the points that determine my standing. So I think that's really cool. The way I understand it, you earn these points and that will determine your rank, and then your rank will determine how much tolk you earn. TOLK. That is the name of the coin for the game. Not really sure how that's going to work out, whether tolk is just used to buy in-game stuff or what, but that's not really fully explained yet. That's going to be one of those things that we learn in the light paper that's coming out anytime. It hasn't released yet as of me making this video, one day away. Probably, if I was to guess based on past Gala practices, probably won't release until day of release. Yeah, that's just kind of the way they roll. But anyway, let's listen to the rest of what he has to say about this.
So
Really put him on the spot there, hey?
No,
I was
no.
prepared for it. I know how it goes. Yeah, I know the expectations. These are not real numbers.
I just want to always set people's expectations, guys, that anything that you see, this is all still stuff that is still moving forward and in development. And even after it is released, will be continuously developed and things will change. So nothing you see on screen is a promise. It is the way it is right now.
So even to kind of clarify, right? Like why these, like for example, if I host a game at a Coliseum, I get 50,000 points. Now, the reason it's so high right now is when we test it, we need to clearly know I'm getting points from this scoring method. So that's why these numbers are so high, for us to easily validate if it's working correctly. But essentially, going back to the feature, as you play PvP, you get these points and you start going up in the leaderboards. The reason you're doing this is for this screen, the reward screen, where we tell you the total tolk, which is going to be the currency, the coin for the game that you'll earn at the end of the week. Now, we looked at what other games were doing. Our focus was clarity. We wanted a new player to come in, go to the screen, say, "Oh, I'm going to get 500 tolk if I come in second." That was really important to us, to make it as clear as possible to know what the rewards are going to be. So, but this is that one loop. You play PvP, you get points, and as you get points, you go up the leaderboard, and you know exactly what you're going to get at the end of the week. So that's loop number one. So this was a couple of features we worked on to get this loop done.
Okay, so that was what he was calling loop number one. That is the leaderboards, the ranking system, the points that you earn, and the events and the rewards that you can get at the end of the events. Now, he didn't really go into a lot of detail as to the length of the events, but I did hear him say week when he was talking about this in there. So don't hold me to this, but as of right now, it appears that his mindset is that each one of these events will last a week. So that's, that's really cool. To recap my thoughts about this leaderboard system, I think it's great that they're going to do it. I hate games that do not do this, because I'm always like, really? Give me a way to gauge my performance. So it's good that they're doing it, I feel. I love the fact that they're having many different ways for you to earn points to be able to rank in the scale. I think that's awesome. Just pulling one of them out and looking at it, the winning with an NFT creature based on its rarity, that also has its own little level of complexity built in, because you have 6 different tiers of rarity from what I've been able to see so far. You have common, uncommon, rare, epic, legendary, and ancient. So that right there breaks it down and makes it even more complex at a broken down level, as far as, well, if I have a rare, then I can get this. If I, pony up a little bit more money and get that epic, then I double my earnings or whatever it's going to end up being. So that gives you a lot of mental gymnastics to kind of do in your head and try to figure out how you can be better and how you can score better. It gives you ways to look at that. So I think that's really, really cool. Okay, so now let's go on to what he calls loop number 2. This is the PvP Battle Pass and Action Cards Minting loop. So he basically is telling us about the Battle Pass system. He wasn't really clear on whether the Battle Pass will be something that you purchase like on a monthly basis type thing, $25.99 and you get the Battle Pass for this month, or whatever it is, whatever the time frame is, or if it even costs you anything monetarily, or with a cryptocurrency, or however it's going to be dealt with. And again, this is going to be one of those things that's kind of fleshed out once we see that light paper, I'm sure. I'm sure this is going to be discussed in the light paper because it has the potential to be an outside of game transaction, a purchase. I'm one of those people that I don't mind paying for stuff like that because when I have a game I like, I don't mind to help fund the game. I don't mind to make sure the developers get paid because I want the game to succeed and do good. And, these kind of things, as we've seen in like Champions Arena and stuff like that, could tie back into the player earnings as well. If a lot of people are spending money on the Battle Pass, then that could translate into more earnings for the player in game, based on the revenue that's coming in. Don't know. That's just 100% speculation because we haven't seen the light paper yet, so don't hold me to that. But this is the second loop that he's talking about. So let's go ahead and watch him, expound on this. Now, I did notice that as he goes through the 3 different loops, they kind of get more vague as he goes. So I think his first loop he picked, he went into the most detail with, because that's probably what he felt the most comfortable explaining the most of. And then as we go, we get more into the weeds with what will probably be in the light paper. So that's probably why we see this get more vague as we go. But anyway, let's watch and see what he has to say.
Second loop I'm going to talk about is the PvP Battle Pass action cards minting loop. So the way this works is, again, you play PvP. I'll go to that screen again. You play PvP, go into Battle Pass, and what Battle Pass does, it will give you Dragon Stones, which is the currency to open card packs. It'll also give you cards that you can unlock as you keep making progress. Now, once you get those Dragon Stones, which is the currency, you go to the shop. Again, like Jason said, don't pay attention to what's in the shop. This is all for us to test it. This will change. But, like I collected 225 Dragon Stones. I come in here, I open a card pack. I get all these cards. And I slowly realized that, Tome of Divinity, that's actually a really rare card. A lot of players have it and they want it. Now, what do I do with that card? I go back to my...
Okay, let's pause right here because he's throwing a lot at us right here in this section, and we may want to stop and take a breath and kind of think about this just a little bit. He's talking about the Battle Pass, and he's showing us that Dragon Stones. You can see them in the upper right-hand corner of the screen up here, his little counter showing how much he's earned or whatever, are going to be the currency to buy card packs. That's cool. I don't know, like I said, though, if that's something you have to buy into, or is that going to be a currency that you can also then turn around and buy on the marketplace with cash or with crypto, Gala, whatever. We don't know. But that's kind of a little interesting distinction to make in the game between the dragon stones, and what we've been told so far with the coin of the game, which is Tolk. We don't know what's going to be spent where, or when you earn it, how you spend it, type of thing. But yeah, that was just something I wanted to kind of break apart real quick before he goes into the next part of this loop, which is the card crafting, deconstruction, and minting process. This is something that just really excites me because I love to see this kind of mechanic. If you watched the latest Guardians of the Galaverse episode with Shadow Knight, Chaos, and Smiling Monster yesterday, you saw Chaos kind of go on about this crafting system mechanic because he thought this was super important, and I'm in total agreement with him on that. I think this is something that's going to, how do I say, really add some life to the game, really add some mechanics that keep players going. This is that grind factor. This is that thing that players can do and constantly work towards having a goal, crafting cards, get those extras, and you'll be able to get some value back out of them by deconstructing and getting the resources so that you can then craft what you want. A mechanic to allow you to be able to build the decks you're trying to build. This is something that's, I think, one of the most important features in this game right here. If I'm gonna say that, I'm gonna go ahead and call that out. I think this is one of the most important features in the game. I agree with Chaos when he was going on about how important he thought it was, and let's watch that part right now.
My deck editor, and we haven't set the crafting recipes for all cards right now, but what I want to really show you is that suppose I got that card, I can create that card into an NFT right here. And that's what I'm doing right now. It is converting a database action card into an NFT, which is now tradable. So this is the loop of me playing the battle pass, getting dragon stones, opening cards, and then choosing to convert it into an NFT, right? And then now this becomes an NFT that you can go and trade. So technically all 250 cards can be tradable if you so choose.
And I don't know if you caught that or not, but he said just now all 250 cards are craftable and mintable. So I guess that means at the start of the game we're going to have 250 cards. I don't know, but that he did say that, so I just wanted to point that out.
To do it. So that's another feature we added. Now we know that you'll get a lot of repeat cards and you want to maybe focus on a specific card. So that's why we have the crafting and deconstruct feature, where you click on craft, you created a second version of this card. And if you have too many of these, you're like, you know what, I don't need this anymore. I'm going to deconstruct it and get some currency back. So again, we keep giving you stuff through the battle pass.
That right there is so cool. The ability to craft cards. Now, there's some question here because he didn't really go into a lot of detail on the minting process and the crafting process, the distinction between the two. I assume, and this is me assuming again, that always gets me in trouble, so whatever, but I assume that when you mint a card, you're going to be spending these resources that you're seeing right there, the paper and the ink, obviously things you need to make cards. But I'm also going to assume that you're probably going to need minting scrolls because I have seen those for sale as a resource on OpenSea already. So I do feel pretty confident in saying that those are going to be required to make a card an NFT. Now, he said these action cards was his exact words when he was talking about crafting these cards. So I don't know if there's a difference between crafting an action card or crafting a character card. That could be a key distinction right there, in that, you may be allowed to craft all the action cards you want by just using paper and ink, But when you want to make it an NFT, you got to throw a minting scroll in there. Same with a character. I don't know. Or maybe you can just craft action cards, and I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work. That's going to be something else that hopefully we discover in the light paper as well, because this will be tied to how players can, get some return on their investment. Hopefully this doesn't destroy the game like it pretty much did in Champions Arena. People just constantly minting cards and selling them and not really playing the game, but just looking for that ROI. I hope that doesn't destroy this game like it does everything else, but we'll see. But this mechanic of being able to deconstruct and craft is super important. Super important. Because I'm the type of player that I will play a lot, so I will probably have lots of copies of cards. And I hate it when I have copies of cards or copies of resources in a game and I can't do anything with it. Give me a deconstruction mechanic like this so that I can then deconstruct the card down to its basic resources, then turn around and use those resources to try to get what I want. I know in a game like this that building certain decks and building certain synergies are going to be super important, because when a deck is the meta, you really want to be using that deck so that you can increase your win percentage, so that you can increase your MMR. And if you struggle to get that one card that you need that really sets off your run when you're playing a certain type of deck, this is a mechanic that can help you do it. Rather than relying on weeks of, RNG to actually draw that card from a card pack, and 3 weeks later I finally got that one card that really sets off my run for this deck, and then that deck is no longer meta. I've had that happen so much in Hearthstone. So this is a mechanic that will actually let you pinpoint a type of card that you're trying to get and help you build those decks faster and more efficiently. I'm all about this because changing the deck builds is a key factor in games like this. You want, obviously you're going to have decks that you love and you're going to fall back on those and play those all the time, but playing new decks and playing new synergies, playing some meta, that's going to be a lot of fun as well, and this is a mechanic that will help with that.
You decide what cards you want to keep, what you want to convert to NFTs, or what you want to craft. So that's loop number 2. Now loop number 3.
Okay, and before he gets into loop number 3, he has called that the rental system. This is the most vague of the 3, because he didn't really go into when you rent, how much do you earn, how much does it cost you, does it cost you to put a card up for rent. It does look like in the graphics that he shows that it costs dragon stones to be able to list a card to rent. Not really sure how that's going to work out, but this is the most vague of the 3, but this is also the one that's probably going to have the most revealed in the light paper. So let's go ahead and see what he has to say about the rental system, which this is super cool too, because this helps people be able to get those cards that they don't have and try them out. And then maybe they can decide, hey, I want to go to the marketplace and buy one of these because I rented that card and it did some work for me and my deck. So now I really want that thing. So that can help increase the action on the secondary marketplace, and this can also help people that have a lot of NFTs get some return on their investment, get some earning potential. So this is good for the game, and I think it's really a cool system to have, and I'm glad they're going to implement it from the start. I think one of Champions Arena's failing points was that it didn't have its rental mechanic in the game from the start. And there was a lot of months spent playing the game that people could have been earning and weren't able to. Now, I'm not going to say their rental mechanic system is good because it sucks. But anyway, it wasn't there is my point. And this one looks like it's going to launch with that. So that's a very important, key thing to keep in mind.
Loop number 3 is our rental system. And I'm going to show you two parts of the rental system. When we looked at the rental system in other games, we wanted to make it as seamless as possible, and we really thought about where you'd want creatures. And I think the answer we came up with is when you create a deck. So here is where players can first of all rent a creature. And the way this works is you have these empty slots. You click find and rent. And right now we don't have the Gala backend integrated. We're still working hard with the Gala engineers to get that in. But essentially, it goes to the rental system and it picks up a random rental card and gives it to you. So it almost becomes like an exciting opportunity. You're like, ooh, I got the Glade Spriggan. Maybe I don't want it anymore, so I'm going to try to see if I can rent another one. And it like searches again through all the rental systems, and you're like trying to find that perfect creature. And now once you have the creature, you can go to create new deck, and you can actually go in and you'll see the rented out creature right here. And even from this screen, you can just click on find and rent, and it gives you that creature and you can place it in. So now suddenly all these rental creatures are available to you, and it's right in it. What you're really proud about this feature is it is essentially seamless with deck creation, which is where players may not even understand they're renting these creatures, but it's part of their flow, right? And now it comes. So that's the
Okay, so that pretty much wraps up his 3 loops that he was talking about. About the rental system, just a little bit more, a couple points I want to throw up about it. I did hear him say just now that they don't have the Gala back end integrated yet. So that right there tells me that Gala is going to be tied to this mechanic, at least in as far as he has planned so far, it sounds like. So that kind of answers that question for us. Is it going to be Gala? Is it going to be Tolk? Is it going to be Dragonstones? I don't know, but it does look like Dragonstones are involved. It does sound like Gala is involved in well. So probably for the fee to rent or the earning mechanic of renting, the Gala is integrated in that. So one other thing I did want to point out about his rental system that I saw, something that kind of stuck out to me immediately was the fact that he was showing them being a random rental. Don't really know if I like that, because if it costs me a currency to roll a random rental each time I click on that deal, then I don't like that. I want to be able to, if I'm going to go in there and spend my currency to rent, I want to get what I know I want first time. I don't want to have to go through this random rental process. Maybe that's just something they've done to gamify the system and it doesn't cost you anything, and maybe it's just a little, casino style, woohoo, I finally rolled that one thing that I've been looking for type of thing. I don't know, but if it costs me currency, it's not going to fly with players. I'm just going to say that right now. It's not going to fly because people are not going to use the mechanic if it's too over costly for them to use. So, keep that in mind, developers of Legends Reborn. If by some chance you're listening, which I doubt, but hey, that you need to think about that, especially if it costs. That's going to limit the usage of that mechanic if people can't afford to do it. That's a trap that a lot of games fall into. They get greedy and they try to suck a player dry, and then those players just refuse to use those mechanics. And that's, you've just cut your own throat because you're losing income you could have had. So make it a selectable thing if it costs. If it doesn't cost, then, do your worst. Do the random thing. Roll the wheel, spin the wheel, open the chest, whatever, But if it costs, you need to think about maybe changing your stance on that, I'm going to say. So anyway, those are the 3 loops that he was talking about in the game today. I think this was some really interesting stuff to get into. This is all speculation, please remember, because like I said, we have not seen that light paper yet. I'm hoping today that we'll get that, at the very latest tomorrow. But I it ain't gonna hurt us to speculate a little bit, especially when everybody's so starved for some content on this, because I'm feeling the excitement mount for Legends Reborn, and I want to get in there and throw my hat in the ring and bring this to you. By all means, if this content has entertained you or has been interesting or has caused you to think a little bit, then honor my commitment that, the time that I spent involved in trying to create this for you. Give me a sub, give me a like, share it around by all means. That'll help me in the algorithm get this content out there for more players to see, so that we can grow the player base of this game. Because in a game like this, the more people playing, the more different opponents we have to battle against. So anyway, I will see you around the table in Legends Reborn, and I thank you for your time today. Bye-bye.